Hey survivors, and welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of my Zomboid series geared towards making you more proficient in combat. This video will cover the basics of combat as well as the various weapon types and combat related skills. If you haven't seen the first video, it goes over my go-to occupations and traits for combat and survivability. Our settings today will be survivor with multi-hit off. This does not mean you have to though. If multi-hit is fun for you, then by all means, leave it on. I also prefer to have drag down disabled, as getting grabbed by 3 zombies at once is not necessarily a death sentence. Again, personal preference. The build I will be using is the same as the last one I recommended in my previous video. Our negatives are high thirst, overweight, slow healer, smoker, short-sighted, and slow reader with the burglar occupation. My positives are cat eyes, dexterous, lucky, brawler, and thick-skinned. Feel free to mix it up on the positive traits. I just highly recommend keeping brawler and thick-skinned if you're new to this game. Starting out, I will be choosing West Point for my spawn location. Today, our combat teacher will be Raymond Riddick. He is truly a force to be reckoned with. Upon first loading in, I like to crouch down as this gives me ample opportunity to check your house for equipment. Now equipped with some basic survival necessities and water, let's start to go over the basics of combat. You can enter your combat stance by holding your right mouse button, left click to take a swing, space is push. If you would like to force a ground attack, simply hold Alt while in combat stance and swing like normal. With that out of the way, let's showcase our boy Riddick in action. These first few zombies were far enough apart to where I can get them on the ground and do stomp attacks to kill them, thus saving me a bit of durability on my knives. While this does save them for more sketchy occasions, when you have an abundance of weapons mid to late game, I actually recommend not doing stomp attacks. They use quite a bit of stamina, and every hit on a zombie with your weapon grants XP towards leveling it up, which makes the weapon swing faster and do more damage. In this fight, I get flanked while trying to let out this bathrobe zombie. Upon seeing the zombie behind me, I immediately get some distance. Notice how I do not walk from these zombies. That is because if you're running when a zombie goes for a grab, they will not be able to get the grab on you. You will instead shoulder check them and push past them. I also make good use of our hunting knife by doing a strafing motion back and forth to get a small bit of distance to ensure my hits are landing. Speaking of landing hits, you can also turn on your aim outline on any weapon. I prefer to keep mine on ranged weapon only, but by all means, if you like it on, toggle that bad boy. After getting this window open, we see my moderate exertion pop up. Fighting while even only in moderate exertion is a bad idea if it can be avoided. Exertion makes a big impact on your effectiveness in combat. It will make you swing slower and do less damage. The same is true for a sleepy survivor. When entering a home like this, it's good to get as much info as possible about what may or may not be inside. Before entering, I like to do a quick sweep of the outside as well as peek into the interior as well from any windows. Upon finding an unlocked window, my first goal is to ensure that it is safe in here. A good tactic to use is to open and close the door really fast. This will safely let you see into the room for a split second to ensure it's actually safe. It's also wise to enter while in combat stance. If I think there's a zombie in the room that's kind of close to the entrance to the room, I like to do a kind of a pre-shove or a pre-swing right before entering the room. That's where you start the attack right at the entrance and you're finishing it as you're in the room. This will give you the opportunity to be able to stun the zombie before it can get a grab on you. Now that we have covered some of the basics of combat and room clearing, let's move on to the various weapon types you'll come across in Project Zomboid. Starting off, axes. Axes come in 3 forms: the wood axe, which does a lot of damage at the cost of a slowed swing speed and less reach, as well as a huge stamina drain. The fire axe, which has decent reach at a significantly less stamina drain, and the hand axe, which does the least damage with poor reach, and a much smaller stamina drain. As you saw in this demonstration, the wood axe is definitely not worth using in combat. The axe and hand axe, however, are very viable choices at any level. Axes also have a solid health pool with a low break chance, making them a top pick for combat. Worth noting as well that any weapon that has an edge will shred zombie clothing. Next up, we have long blunt weapons. Common long blunt weapons are shovels, crowbars, and baseball bats. The most reliable is definitely crowbars, as they have an insane amount of health, and even with no maintenance skill, they will be able to clear quite a few zombies. Long blunt weapons take a moderate amount of endurance to swing and have very good reach, and while on average not as damaging as an axe or spear, they will still boast a solid damage output. Also worth noting that you can spike a baseball bat, but this will make it break much faster, but with a much higher attack. Next up, we have the short blunt weapons. Short blunt weapons come in many variants, to police batons, hammers, wrenches, and even toilet plungers. On average, they're fairly reliable weapons despite not having a super high damage output. Their stamina cost to damage ratio is very solid. The major drawback, of course, is the reach. I definitely do not recommend using these weapons to clear large groups unless there is no other option available, or the groups are very spaced apart without a high nimble skill and a relatively high short blunt skill for a faster swing. Next up, we have long blade. Long blades boast an absolutely insane damage output alongside a very low durability and moderate reach. Definitely a weapon I would say for clearing large large groups. The two you will find in vanilla is the katana and machete. That said, if you truly want to get the most bang for your buck out of these weapons, try to save them until your maintenance skill is a bit higher. Aim for around level 3 and up. Also get a bit carried away in my demo of the katana as I was having quite a bit of fun slaying the hordes of undead. Moving on now, let's talk about long blade's cousin, short blades. Short blades have a neat bit of history to them as back in build 40 they were one of the best weapons in the game. An up close attack on a zombie even with a butter knife was an instant kill every single time. Now this instant kill is still possible, but it's a bit hard to get it to trigger. Short blades also have the neat ability to be able to stab zombies through a chain link or bar fence. That a lot of the way, short blade is actually my least recommended weapon as they have poor reach, poor damage output on average, and break fairly easily, the hunting knife excluded. A small redeeming quality, however, is that they have on average a fairly fast swing and cost almost no stamina to use. Next, we have the spear. Spears are an easily craftable weapon with very good reach and damage output at the cost of moderate stamina and a severely low durability. They also come with a very nice insta-kill animation that is very easy to trigger. That said, on very rare occasions, this animation can actually get you killed. Spears are a very solid choice when it comes to clearing large groups, especially if you have a maintenance-heavy build for your character. One of the other drawbacks, however, are they are very heavy. This makes them somewhat difficult to use as an everyday carry weapon, as you'll probably want about 4 or so on you if you're taking on large groups. Spears have an added benefit of being moddable with short blade weapons, and even the machete. I don't personally recommend doing this as you have to use duct tape to attach them, and you're better off using that to repair your much rarer weapons like katanas. Spears can be made from planks and tree branches, from short blade weapons like the craftable stone knife from a tree branch and chipped stone, kitchen knives, and hunting knives. Our last weapon to cover is firearms and reloading. Firearms in Project Zomboid are incredibly loud. Firearms have classifications of handgun, shotgun, and rifle. Handguns, though the least damaging, are on average the quietest, with the M36 revolver having a sound radius of 30 tiles and the Magnum having a sound radius of 80. Shotguns are split between the double barrel and the JS2000 with a sound radius of 100 across all 4 possible variants. Rifles come in 4 variants with a sound radius of 70 tiles each. Let's talk about guns in a more situational sense. Our characters, vets and cops included, are notoriously bad with firearms. Even at level 2, it is very hard to land a one-shot kill across all weapon platforms, minus maybe the sawed-off double barrel shotgun. When it comes to leveling them, however, beta blockers and shotguns are your best friends. The beta blockers will stop your panic from heavily influencing your accuracy. Shotguns also give you the most XP when trying to power level your character. That said, it's still very important to understand the risk of clearing large groups with these firearms. Ammo is heavy and finite, paired with the fact that trying to use a pistol or rifle under level 7 aiming is practically pointless. Also worth noting that weapons like the M14 and M9 pistol will require magazines to operate as well. Having said all this, firearms are incredibly fun to use. They work as a great way to clear large groups safely, as well as wake up any nearby zombies that may be hiding in the woods or in a closet. For best results, stand still when aiming. Always wait until the zombie outline glows a bright green to ensure your character has the best chance of hitting their target. Use your beta blockers to maximize your odds of landing a shot. An alternative way of power leveling your character's aiming ability is to find zombies that are isolated and pin them down, then you have an easy one-shot kill with an M36 revolver. The last combat related thing we will cover is fire. Burning off large groups of zombies can be a very effective way to clear out hordes of the undead. That said, fire is incredibly dangerous. It will kill you very quickly if not careful, as well as turning a fully stocked base into ash in a few minutes. Use with extreme caution. Zombies also behave weirdly when on fire. If you do not see a zombie on your screen that's currently on fire, it will not continue to lose health. It goes into a sort of hibernation and pauses its HP loss until observed again. Moving on from the weapon types, let's cover combat relevant survival skills. These skills are fitness, strength, sprinting, light-footed, nimble, and sneaking. Fitness increases a multitude of player abilities. It reduces endurance loss, increases endurance recovery, increases attack speed, reduces damage from long falls, increases the chance to push a zombie off when attacked, increases exercise speed, and reduces trip chance when a zombie lunges after falling over a window or a fence. Fitness can be leveled by sprinting, doing fitness exercises, and performing melee attacks when the player is not overexerted. Generally, the fastest way to level this skill is going to be doing fitness exercises. Strength determines the player's carry weight, as well as certain other factors such as the chance to open locked windows, the player's melee damage, push knockback, knockdown chance, and the chance to successfully climb a tall fence. Strength can be leveled up mainly by doing strength exercises, carrying more than 50% of the player's weight capacity, and running. Strength experience is also granted when hitting a zombie with melee attacks and cutting down trees. Sprinting affects how fast you can run. You can jog or break out into a full sprint, for more speed at a much higher endurance cost. I highly recommend not using the full sprint, as it is much easier to injure yourself from falling over a fence, hitting a wall, or running into a zombie. Next up is light-footed. Light-footed is a fairly self-explanatory skill that simply makes your footsteps much quieter. You can level this skill by sneaking near zombies. Nimble is one of the most important skills in the entire game. It affects how fast you move while in your combat stance. This makes it much easier to take on large groups when nothing but melee weapons are available. While the difference in levels might not seem significant at first, I can promise you the difference in combat is huge. The last thing on this list is sneaking. Sneaking affects how hard it is for zombies to detect you based off of sight. The better your sneaking and light-footed skills, the better off you will be when trying to break off from a large group. Another nice advantage of a good sneak skill is being able to take small chunks of larger groups and slowly kill a horde while mitigating risk to yourself. This about wraps it up for part 2 of our combat series. Thank you all very much for the privilege of your time today. Let me know what you guys think of my opinions on the various skills and weapons down below. Check me out on Twitch for some fun and silly live streams. Don't forget to drop me a like and a sub if you're new here, and I'll see ya in the next vid. Bye!